Games and Gimmicks, the podcast discussing video games, professional wrestling, and everything in between. I'm E. Huffy, sitting alongside, across from, the poor-ass gamer.
Hello!
Hey, and we're also joined once again by our friend and yours, the artist formerly known as Face of Foley, direct from Never Grow Up, Ben. How's it going? Hey, fantastic. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Boy, we are so excited. We have begun a motion picture mission. A motion picture journey for the poor-ass gamer. Believe it or not, this son of a beehole has not seen the entire run of the Star Trek movies.
Shame.
Some of them.
We're talking from what he can recall, and we're talking about the originals. We're not talking about the most recent ones by J.J. Abrams and co. We're talking the originals, and we're starting in here today with the one that started it all. Star Wars. Just kidding. Star Trek.
I was wearing a Star Wars shirt before
picture.
I came over here, and then I immediately changed it because I was like, "Yes, we should be."
Well, that's what I like. I like doing that when if you're going to a Marvel movie, I like wearing a DC shirt, and vice versa. If you go to a Star Trek movie, wear a Star Wars shirt. I when I went to the Force Awakens, I wore a Star Trek.
So you troll
shirt.
people, yeah.
Okay. It's just funny. Like, piss people off. It's fantastic. We're gonna get the plugs out of the way. We want to thank everybody from going to gamesandgimmicks.com and all of our different social media channels. We do appreciate that. And make sure to check out Never Grow Up on YouTube. Got some fantastic content there. Do it now. He is demanding that you check all those places out. Well, let's get going. I'm going to set the stage here because Ben and I are pretty much experts in the field of Star Trek, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I don't want to say Trekkie. I don't like that word.
I don't like that. It's just a stupid word.
It is. It's dumb. I'd say loyal fans.
Cool.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, I like that. So we're more or less going to be grilling Joey. He's going to be in the hot seat going through this. So
I took notes. This is a lot of notes here. I even know what year this took place in from watching the movie.
Wow. There you go.
Well, they put it up there, so
they put it up, so I wrote it down. So Star Trek The Motion Picture came out in 1979. It was their response to Star Wars. In funny circles, it's often been known as Star Trek The Motionless Picture. Which we'll probably get into at certain points. We had Joey watch the director's edition. The theatrical version was essentially an unfinished movie that was released. If you actually watch closely, there's a lot of unfinished shots. You can see lighting rigs in different areas of the film. So it's really unfinished. So we really like to lean towards director's cuts so you can actually see what the director intended the audience to watch. This movie was finished in 2001. That's when they did this project. So Robert Wise was still around, really had the desire to finish this movie because it was incomplete, was given the money to do so. So they created some CG effects to blend seamlessly into the footage from 79, and thus they got the director's edition. Has only been available on DVD, but they've just started rumblings that this is eventually going to make its way to 4K. They have to build it again. They have to build it again because they're so smart. In 2001, they finished this in standard definition. That's why it's never seen a proper release.
Right.
So, super excited about that. So once again, this is the director's edition, the actually intended movie that Robert Wise wanted everybody to see. So let's go ahead and start it right off with what were your before we get into the details, we're not going to go through the plot points. What did you think of the very first movie in the Star Trek movie franchise?
I think just based on what you just said, the motionless picture, there's a lot of that going on. Not so much that it's motionless. I just feel like a lot of the movie is very slow paced. But I have to remind myself, much like what you just said, 1979. We don't have a lot to compare to unless you look at modern cinema today, which is, you look at those Star Trek movies today, like Beyond and all those other ones. It's an action movie, it's not necessarily sci-fi so much anymore, but it has those elements, right?
Also, keep in the back of your mind, this came out, what's it, 2 years or 3 years after Star Wars. So think about that too, as you go through. But
and
go
even
ahead, continue.
Perspective-wise, right? Just starting off the movie. Some of the establishing things that are happening, we get the threat of this giant electric thing that's coming out of this cloud getting sent to Earth and killing the Klingons as we start out there.
You know what it is? It's climate change.
Well, okay, maybe.
That's the villain.
Maybe
it's climate change,
right? But looking at that kind of stuff, you get this establishment of maybe like the opening shot of New Hope, right? You know, you have that the Imperial cruiser coming across there, and they're chasing everybody. Everything's kind of slow paced. We're going into the cloud with the Klingons as we start off there too as well. And a lot of the shots feel like that, but I definitely felt like a lot of the movie was reestablishing these known characters. That was what I really felt it was all about, because obviously looking at them from the series and where they are in this movie, they're much older. Like Uhura, she's got a little more, couple wrinkles in her face and everything there too.
It was only 10 years,
but
since
it was
the show was off the air.
But
about that,
you could tell like that this was kind of like a reestablishment of, hey, this was big on television. This is a big deal for it to be, its first movie. But it definitely had a very, very slow pace with establishing everything. So don't come into the movie, I guess, with the expectations of what you know with Star Trek in the modern day and what they've done with those movies. But it still like harkens back to what those old school TV series were like. That it's like, we got a mystery. Let's find out what it is, right, and we're going to figure it out. And it's like, those are always the best plots with Star Trek. It's just like, give me something that's going on, that's crazy. We don't know what's happening. Get everybody down there, figure it out, and it's just like, it's the like ticking clock is very much the element to this movie. It's like, oh shit, we only have so much time. Okay, we gotta save Earth, and I think that was kind of the best part about it, but definitely slow. So that would be my assessment.
I would get your thoughts on this. You know, if someone were coming into this cold, or maybe have seen some of the newer movies. My initial thought wouldn't be to start them off with these movies. My thought would be at least get them to dabble in the TV show first before. Sure. Would you
are we talking about original series then?
Yes.
Okay.
Would you have somebody cold turkey just jump right into the motion picture? Would you have them start somewhere?
Hell no. Nope. Absolutely not. When I told my wife that I was coming here, and she's like, "Oh, what's it going to be about?" And I was like, Star Trek, the motion picture, the first one. And she's like, oh, yeah, I won't be listening to that one.
Wait, time out. She actually watched it? You had her watch it?
Oh, well, I think she has seen it, but what parts she has seen of it, she thought was incredibly boring.
Right.
Or she walked out as I was watching it and then came back and she was like, it's just the same thing.
Yeah, like what's happening?
The journey into the cloud and everything and trying to find it. But as far as your question of like where to start or would I have them start with that? No, but again, you have to realize the time when this came out, they weren't necessarily trying to show off storytelling. They already had that. They were trying to show off like the graphics and everything and the special effects. And I think for the time it was phenomenal.
No,
flybys of the refit Enterprise and everything, gorgeous.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
I think these are all important because they're big things to the Star Trek series. Now, what's one big thing that we got in this movie that is now a consistent thing in all the movies? Just what you said. The establishing shot of the Enterprise or whatever ship we're on, and it was cool to see, these are all, most of these are probably real models in some cases.
It's all real models.
And then you said there's some CG added after the fact to clean that up. But I think we look at those old movies from the 70s and stuff like that too. We forget that there were artists, people who had spent painstaking amount of time to make these really, really intricate models and everything, and that comes through. I will say though that some of those shots are pretty long by today's standards, though. Like the whole sequence of Scotty and Kirk go into the ship, and like it's really great because yes, this is important for Star Trek. But it's also like, man, they made their fucking money on those shots because these guys, they didn't have to do anything. It's just Kirk, like little tear glint in his eye. Oh yes, there it is.
And I think they part of the reason they wanted to was because in the TV show, I mean, the effects were so cheap. They were that now they were going to have the opportunity for people to see the ship up close.
Sure.
Plus, people hadn't seen it for over 10 years.
Right.
Yep.
So they're like, let's
really show
let's
it.
show
It's
them
a new
every-
version of the ship too.
Absolutely new.
And this is actually, we'll throw this up maybe.
Yeah, you can send
this
that to
is in Planet Hollywood down in Orlando, Florida. This is the original model used for the motion picture.
Oh.
And this was as close as I could get because obviously they don't want people touching it, but it was huge.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah, you're gonna have to send that.
Yeah,
picture
yeah,
along.
we'll put that up
We'll
on
throw
YouTube.
throw
Cool.
that up there.
Yeah.
So this is a movie. We'll get into some more of the details, but it's definitely one that grew on me over time. Because as kids,
Yes.
I would watch the first 45 minutes of this movie and then I'd stop. Once they got through the wormhole sequence, I then hit stop because I knew my little young ass was going to be bored to tears, so I always stopped.
Nap time.
Can I say I love that scene? I just
yeah.
absolutely
The wormhole?
just the
Yeah.
Photon torpedoes targeting. I want to get your thoughts.
yeah, it was good. I love that part.
Torpedoes armed. I want to get your thoughts on quite possibly what I thought is one of the most horrific things I've ever seen in films.
I know exactly what you're going to
The
say.
transporter accident. I mean, what did you for me, that's always freaked me the fuck out.
Yeah.
I want to get your thoughts on the transporter accident.
So like now with all the knowledge of like Star Trek and all the prequels and all the things that have come forward, like with the knowledge we have of like they fill in the gaps of like how we got to transporters and things like that. And watching this now, because I have all this like prequel knowledge of stuff that they established in the more recent time, and then watching this and going like, well, what the fuck? They still having transporter problems? Like, what the fuck's going on, man? Like, you should have had this shit figured out by now. But no, terrifying, like awful, like the there's like
Yeah.
screaming,
The scream.
and then like Kirk's at the end and he just looks at the girl, the transporter girl, and he's like, hey, wasn't your fault. Like, he was like, wasn't your fault. Like, she wasn't asking that. You took over, man. And it's like, there's like this. There was also a question I had, this just bizarre with transporters, right? First scene, we get Kirk coming onto the ship. He transports on, and then he puts his hand on a glowy thing for a second, and then he takes it off.
Yeah.
Is that like make sure all his atoms are there or something?
No,
or
he punched in.
Oh, okay. That's the digital clock.
Got to get on the clock, right?
Yeah.
Got to get paid.
Makes a noise.
He's not salary, even though he's an admiral. He's going back to captain. He's
That's
got
true.
He's
That's
back hourly now. So, fun fact about that transporter thing: there are actually a lot of aspects of the theatrical cut that I really enjoyed that aren't in this director's edition. And one of them is once the transporter, they lose the signal and they die, it just focuses on Kirk and he goes, "Oh my God." And they took that out of the director's cut. And it like really, you're like, yeah, oh my God. Like that was terrifying. But yeah, it's unfortunate
And see,
they took that
it
out.
feels more blasé. Like he's just sort of like, well, this shit happens. Yeah. Make sure they
Another
say
day
they're
on the
dead.
Enterprise.
The best line in that whole movie is from whoever said back to Kirk, whatever we got back didn't live very long.
Yeah. Just like,
Whatever.
just
Like,
this.
what was it?
It's probably like this goop,
was it?
just goop of like screaming, and then just dies. And you're like,
just a
okay.
mouth.
It's like, Jesus.
Absolutely.
I do want to.
Absolutely
I
terrifying.
want to make one really just one turn to this because it was kind of like right around that sequence there too as well. It's where the Kirk and the whole crew come out to everybody on the Enterprise, and they have that open, just like I don't know, it's like kind of like a theater. Everybody's sitting there, and they got the big view screen behind them.
Yep.
I thought it was really fun because it's establishing the threat to everybody on the Enterprise. But what I really loved is that like Kirk's like, okay, like turn the viewer on because we're gonna go talk to those people at the space station, and they're all telling us some vital information, right? They say we've been sending all types of signals out to this thing, and it's not responding. Oh wait, it thinks we're a threat, and now it kills us, right?
Yep.
And then there's this moment where Kirk is like pissed because he's like, oh fuck, like we gotta face this, and he destroyed all those people, and he's like, I think he's like viewer off, and then like Uhura is just like, oh shit, and she just like walks over and turns it off, and I just thought that was the funniest fucking thing because it's like, wait, She said viewer. He said viewer off, but Uhura still goes over to turn off the screen for him because everybody doesn't want.
He asked to get it turned off. She didn't do anything,
and
so
then
he
she
yells
does
again. He's like,
That's
viewer
what
off.
I remember that.
Maybe I missed that,
because everyone was horrified at what they saw.
Yeah.
And then,
but I still thought it was funny though because it's just like, hey, turn that off, damn it! And they're like, oh, just flip the switch.
well, a lot of the things in the original series weren't automated. Like they,
Still
you know,
buttons.
they had to go up to certain boxes in the hallways and
That's
talk
right.
to the bridge and stuff like that.
I keep forgetting that because it's like it's still like this is you're right. This is not very long after the original series as far as what they're trying to establish with the technology. So a lot that was turn the dials and do all the little things with it. But
it's again going back to saying that I'd turn this off after 45 minutes, but then as we got older and your brain starts to develop and you're not so much of an idiot. I mean, you still are in some ways, but you get a little bit brighter.
Yeah.
And you just realize as the years go on, like, holy shit, this is actually a really good movie.
Yeah.
Sure, it's not Star Wars.
It's not
supposed
super
to be.
polished even.
And I think that was probably the best thing that they did was not try to copy Star Wars as far as like action and everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, this is one of the last, I mean, they were surprised that they did it at the time, but the movie opened with an overture, which is total 1950s and 60s.
I didn't get that.
Oh, I loved it.
I didn't get it.
And that funny is like, what's going on?
Because I put the DVD in,
Uh-huh.
and it's a black screen.
Yep.
And it's playing music. I'm like, okay, cool. All right. Yep. Are we? And
Thinking
it's like
it's the
I'm
menu.
like looking. I'm like, how long is this?
Yeah.
Before it starts, I don't get no title sequence. So to me, watching that, I was like, where is the movie started?
Yeah.
And then it did, and I see the Paramount logo and all that stuff, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, all right, we're there.
Yeah.
But it was like, that threw me a little bit because nobody does that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, nobody does. Well, I mean,
Most of the time, and it's not like I watch this every day, but most of the times when I put that in, I will let that whole sequence play through.
Oh, every time.
I absolutely love it. And if I got somebody else around me that either doesn't remember or has never seen it before, I tell them this was playing in the theater like when you were coming in. Like,
And see, that would be
cool is
really
that?
cool. Yeah, like I can imagine, like going into a dark theater and seeing the stars flying by and all that stuff.
Well,
It's
like,
perfect
I
for
mean,
that, yeah.
you really could do that with movies these days. You just pick whatever the main theme is for a movie. You could even take a Star Wars movie and put, whatever. It's like a Leia theme or the big Jedi fight theme, and you could play that before the movie starts. Like, how fucking cool would that be? Get everybody settled. And
It's
all
like
that.
a reminder of the actual orchestral type of theater. They had the old school whole orchestra during movies in the old days, and it'd be that's a cool concept.
Now you got Maria Menounos' annoying voice
She
talking
asked
to
you
you the
15
whole
questions.
time. Yeah, let's play a game together. It's like,
No!
God.
Get your phone out. No, that's the worst thing you can
Yeah.
ask someone to do in a movie
Oh,
theater
my God.
is to get your fucking phone out. Yeah.
Go back to channel
every time.
one.
Yeah, go back. Go back to channel 1.
That's right.
You
High school
phones
flashback
so
there.
low. So, what was your favorite part, either of the movie, whether it be a sequence, a scene, a moment? We'll kind of go around and talk about our favorite parts of this movie, if anything. I guess
if I had the way to like kind of, I'll boil down a couple ones, and then I'll leave some so that way you guys have something to talk about it.
I said one.
Just
kidding.
Man, there are a lot of really good moments between characters in this movie though too as well. Even just, and this was the first one that came up to me is Will Deckard, who's the captain originally and becomes yeah
that doesn't age very well.
Unfortunate. I did read. I looked up I know. I looked up his name and then I saw all the stuff and I was like, oh man.
Fun fact about Decker, but they don't make it obvious in the movie. You have to actually look through all the details. But he is the son of Captain Matt Decker from the original series episode. Just saying that in a sentence makes me sound. I just feel really nerdy. The Doomsday Machine.
Oh yeah.
And then was that captain that
the
killed
beep.
himself.
Yeah.
No.
What?
No.
Oh, you're way
I'm
off.
thinking of the guy.
Remember
in
the
thing.
big?
Don't even try,
Remember the
Joey.
big?
I only saw the original series once when Eric gave me it, and I watched all of them.
It was the big. It looked like a giant
Turd.
Yeah, like a turd flying through space,
Oh,
and then the
yeah.
captain flew the shuttle in. He was making all those crazy faces when he was gonna die
Yep.
and killed himself. So this is his son.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Um,
You didn't know that?
No.
Oh man, fun fact.
It's really cool.
I liked more of the establishment between them after a while that it after that whole photon torpedoes scene, like after they got through that whole wormhole, they went off into the captain's quarters and talked, and it's like, I'm not competing with you. And it was just this, but Kirk also admitted, hey, I don't really know shit. It was kind of like a very obvious moment that he didn't know shit about the
was cool.
ship.
That was
and
cool.
he had to more or less recognize, like, we have to work together. We all have to be on the same page. And it was just a good establishment for all those characters at that point in time. But, there's a lot of other great moments in this. I won't say them all. But
Let's kick it over to Ben. What's your
what do you think?
favorite?
Spock crying, I thought was really
Yeah.
cool. When he realized, like, the intelligence of the alien, which, I mean, I don't know if you would call it an alien, but it definitely AI. It became, like, sentient, and, I mean, full spoilers, right? Like, we don't have to warn about that.
no.
Like, too soon,
Yeah. Movie from '79. Oh my god.
But, how cool it was that he respected, like, the technology. It was pure logic. It was everything that he hoped to achieve. Yet I think he realized that he didn't want to become what that was.
Right.
And he realized, like, who he was better than what he was trying to become. And I thought that was really, really cool. He turns his head and you see that tear coming down Spock's cheek, and it's just like, holy crap.
And we had all the establishment before this, the whole, he basically more or less refuses the whole Kolinar treatment, or the whole ascension thing that he was trying to do, because he had the feeling of what was going on.
Yeah, something was it was communicating with
He
him.
was
or
able to
heard
hear it.
But it's
Yeah.
also like the cool thing that, it's like he's accepting his human side, he's accepting his Vulcan side, and doing what's right that he needed to do to help everybody. But yeah, him showing that human side in that moment was really cool too. So yeah.
Eric?
Well, it's kind of tough. On one hand, I like how this movie pretty much has everything that's now commonplace with Star Trek. The main theme, how the Klingons looked, little things like that. I think my favorite part, though, was at the end when they realized, when they see they're in Viger, and they find out that it's the Voyager probe, and all those pieces start coming together about what happened. To me, because it does feel like a really long movie, and you're like, when the hell are we going to find out what
What's
all
going
this
on?
is?
Yeah.
But then when you finally get that at the end, you get all the pieces. You're like, oh man, that's pretty freaking cool.
It
Like
is.
a really
Yeah,
cool
it
concept about what happened.
A
with
really cool reveal with the Voyager satellite. It was just like it wasn't even like I had to wait for that moment. It was just that establishing shot where you got all those like little hexagonal little tiles and stuff, and it's just that's a fucking cool shot with the ship sitting at the end.
They're walking
and,
off the.
and I'm like, first of all, how they get out there? But that's okay. I don't need to establish any of that.
Right.
But they're like,
Right.
it's all. They open up a panel somewhere, and then like all of those come up, and they're walking out, and you see this really detailed, just very what they're trying to create is that Viger essentially, whatever this mechanized planet that the Voyager satellite passed by, basically it took that technology and made it its own and decided to complete its goal, which was to get as much data about every known thing that it could possibly find. But of course it got manipulated in that way from what its original concept was. Just the callback of like, hey, we need to go figure out what the signal is for Voyager when it completes, and we need to find that and then send it back to it so that we can finish this all off. But I don't know about that love part thing. I get it, but it's also almost like I didn't really like the Ilea, is that her name? Ilea?
Yep.
Character.
You don't like her? Oh my god, what's wrong with you?
It just
legs.
yeah, she does have long legs. But I felt like it was one of those like let's shoehorn in the love story here real quick, like it almost felt like that because we only got a little bit of establishment thing. Like she says in the beginning, like, oh, my thing of celibacy. She like tells everybody right when she gets on the ship that she's celibate, and I'm like, okay,
announcement.
Thank you.
I'm celibate.
Also, I'm Will Deckard. Hey, I liked you a while ago, and he's like, why are you telling everybody? But like that, but it was a good moment. The special effects in that moment though too, when they both come together and realize what they have to do. It comes together in a really, really nice way, though.
But she was only like part herself, and then she was like more of like the machine.
She was really more memories. So it was more machine than memories.
To me, it made sense because I understand where you're coming from, but it was kind of cool because when you think of like what it is to be human, like if you're a pure logic machine, like you don't understand the value of life or anything like that. So the only way for that to happen was to merge with a human who could feel that.
And it makes sense, because that's what it needed to complete its mission, essentially. Yeah. Okay, that's a good way of looking at it.
That's why I like that. But I understand it's a little bit cheesy too. And
a little bit, but at the same time, it's more or less because those are brand new characters. Is the way I
you couldn't have two captains of the Enterprise,
or anybody important die in that moment, really. Right. So, but I do think overall, like, just like you said, 1979, they were really trying to show off some cool special effects with everything that they did. I wrote down Space Butthole, but Ben did not like that assumption that I said it looks like a butthole.
No, I think I realized you're talking about the shot where Spock went through
when they get into the center and they're looking at that
like a sphincter
thing.
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
Squeezing.
I thought you were talking about the whole cloud looked like a big butthole.
No, but the squeezing.
No, you're absolutely right.
And
100%.
it's like, and I know that, and they call it an orifice a number of times. Oh, I'm entering the orifice.
Are you serious?
He calls it an orifice. That. Yeah, calls it an orifice, and I'm like, okay, yeah.
Probing the orifice.
Somebody knew what they were doing. Yeah. Like, this is gonna be great.
I do want to say one thing that I wrote down that was a Spock line, and I don't know why I liked it because it was just sounded so damn fucking smart. It was when they first met. This is a little bit back, but when McCoy and Kirk and Spock all come into the same room, he's like, Spock, sit down. And he's like, no, he's not gonna do it. And then he's like, oh, I see that you're kind of this. McCoy's like, you're kind of the same person you always were. And he says this line, which I thought was amazing. He says, as your continued predilection.
Almost.
Can't say it.
Predilection.
As your continued
predilection
for irrelevancy demonstrates. I said it wrong. I knew I was gonna fuck up that line when I wrote it down too.
Well, you're not Spock.
Did you write it down? Was that it?
It is written down correctly, but I can't say it.
Give it to me.
You say it.
Give me this. This is on.
Because it's just so smart, but also like even looking at those two characters, like.
Wait, what did McCoy say? Oh, Spock. Oh, as your continued predilection for irrelevancy demonstrates.
Yeah. Because it was like
funny,
and it's a great comeback though too as well because he's like, you're not telling me anything new, man.
Right.
And then also McCoy looking like a goddamn 70s ass pimp up in this shit. He's got that beard. He's got fucking big old jewelry. He's got the fucking shirt open too.
Yeah,
he's like, I don't do this.
I've
Starship.
been drafted.
Right. That whole
tired.
Yeah,
he was done.
Yeah, he was just chilling.
Like, what the hell am I doing on
drinking a beer or something like that on a beach, and they're like, "What the fuck? They drafted me." Yeah, I really liked McCoy because he was so much more. He was just a little bit different just by adding that beard to him. He's a little disheveled. Like he had some good lines in this movie, but I feel like he wasn't like giving it to Kirk as much as he really should have though.
No. It gets better as the movies go on. There's definitely a lot more of that.
Yeah.
One of the greatest things that this movie has is the soundtrack. I mean, the soundtrack is one of it's referred to all the time. So definitely a highlight of this movie, especially when you're doing the whole fly around the ship in the beginning. Jerry Goldsmith, that man knew how to make some music.
Yes.
He knew what was going on. So, wow. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we haven't.
I got a couple other things. I'm just going to you guys tell me.
Run them down.
If they're funny, you'll laugh at them. I don't know.
Okay.
Carbon-based units. How the fuck did you end up on a spaceship asking that kind of question?
Science.
that there was a security officer asked what carbon-based units was. Didn't know what carbon is.
They don't need to be smart. If
Anyways.
you're just were those the guys in like the little body armor thing?
Yeah, the little shield thing on his head. So that wasn't that funny, I guess. NASA made our satellites horny. Okay, so that's what I wrote down at the end of the movie. All right.
That's funny.
I mean, they needed something. They needed that human touch. So made them horny. And what was the other good line? There was... Kirk said when they got into the center of the whole ship that they were in, now that we've got them just where they want us. So it was like this kind of weird...
That was the
he said,
exact quote?
Now we've got them just where they want us. Where it's a very weird kind of sentence there. Because he's not admitting that he's fucked. Because he's in the center of the ship and they have no way of getting out at all.
Yeah.
But
they knew that was the only way to...
Yeah,
find out the answer
and possibly have a plan to fix this whole
work
situation.
Or it's not. Yep.
Yeah. And then there was a weird shot in here that I thought was funny, where it was right when Ilea basically got like taken over and then showed back up, and I think it must have been Kirk and McCoy. Or no, it was Kirk and Decker were talking in some room, and they were just like having a conversation about what do we do to get her kind of back to who she is, and then she just blows up the door.
Yeah.
It was like this very obvious jump cut where they showed the door like kind of busting open, and then suddenly all of the door was busted open, and I'm like, okay, again, it's 1979, so I'm willing to forgive a lot of like little things that are in this movie, but
ran out of money.
Honestly, yeah, I think it carried through the key components to a Star Trek movie.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's from the series too.
This movie is very much what Star Trek is all about. While the newer movies and the newer shows are great, but really they don't have as much of the Star Trek element in them as obviously these movies do. You know, like I said, they're fantastic. I love them all, but they're just, it feels like there's something missing. Even in Discovery, that is legit, these Star Trek shows now, but it's as good as it is, they really still haven't. I don't think they've had any episode yet that I can recall right offhand that had any moral struggle or moral issue or anything. I think in the second season they had one or two maybe, but yeah, so for all the people saying the movie's slow and boring, but at the heart of it, it's really yikes, and it's a deep movie.
I think it's about the human experience. Like they're trying to talk about how, like, if anything, they're connecting it back to our very like history here. They sent out they talk about it, this satellite 300 years ago, and they're coming to terms with something that basically we sent out in the first place. Like this whole mission is based on something that we did. We're the creator, in this whole movie. God, I wrote this thing down and now it sounds so stupid.
Now you gotta say it. You can't.
The only solution is for Viger to meet its creator. MEAT. It doesn't work. Oh, God, I'm sorry.
I think this is the part where we cut you off. I think you're done. So
these jokes are bad.
So at the end of the day, for you, Mr. Poor Ass Gamer, Star Trek: The Motion Picture, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumb in the middle.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, good. It was a good watch. I think a good first entry for what they were trying to establish. And again, I've seen some of the other movies, so it's not like I'm completely unaware of like Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan. You can't not know what that whole story is, or even further on into Next Generation. Like I think the only other one I saw was like Nemesis, or like a lot of people give that one shit, but I enjoyed that one.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But yeah, there's a lot of like connection, like connective fiber between all these types of movies. It's good to see how all of that started in the beginning. Because like you said, there's a lot of things that are important that just got started in this one movie that everybody, like they pick up like crazy throughout the rest of the movie. So
Right. So, all right. Well, I think that kind of wraps up.
We didn't ask Ben if it was a thumbs up or thumbs down.
You were the newbie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
You guys all give it a thumbs up.
We're biased, more or less. Honestly, at the end of the day, I love everything about all the movies. Cool. There things about certain aspects of the movies that we don't care for. Yeah, sure, it goes with anything. But it's like I fucking love them all.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not even this one. I'm like, even as a kid, not caring for it too much. It's like it's still a Star Trek movie. I love it.
It was still one more movie, one more thing we could watch that was Star Trek.
Yeah.
Do you still go back and go to just the wormhole scene and just watch that?
Just that? No, I mean, I meant
just like when you were a kid. Yeah.
No, when I was a kid, that's when I stopped.
That's when you stopped.
When I stopped. I watched the whole movie up until when that scene was done, and then I.
That's enough for you at that point.
Was when you're a kid, you're like, okay, that's enough. Now I'm gonna go put in Star Wars and lightsabers. Yeah, or watch an original series episode or something or other. So, you, my friend, have a lot of work ahead of you.
Yes.
So keep an eye out for the review for Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. That's coming up next. Hopefully, we will get Ben back here to partake in hopefully all these because we need your voice. We need your voice for all of these. So our plan is to get through. At first, the first 6 movies, hopefully venture into the Next Generation movies, and then that's kind of where we're going to end it. I don't think we're going to cover the new ones.
You have no idea what's coming, Joey.
You never.
No idea.
You don't.
Honestly, I don't know 3, 4, 5. I don't really know those ones.
Good.
God,
so it's
so
good. It's good to kind of enter with like no knowledge of it by itself. Mm-hmm. I know little bits of 3. But yeah, obviously because of what happens in 2. So, I'm excited. It'll be cool.
The funny thing, especially with the numbers, with all the nerds out there.
Oh God, they're gonna. They're gonna.
Fuck you. Well, people say the like running fact is supposedly that the even numbers are the good ones, and the odd ones are the bad ones, which is total horseshit.
It is
absolute horseshit. My wife had recently watched these series of movies, finally, and she felt the opposite. She actually didn't care for the even numbered ones. With Khan, she liked Khan, but she didn't like 4. She didn't like 6, but she loved 3 and 5.
5 is so
and,
good.
Yeah. Oh, the ones. So those
screw
are the ones
all
I thought
you
for
that
sure.
think different.
Maybe she won't care for. What was that?
I said, screw all you that think different. That 5's not good.
Yeah, you're not true fans. So my message is, fuck all of you,
Eric. Jeez,
unsubscribe now.
Not true fans.
Man. Well, thanks for joining us. We appreciate that. That was everybody. Thank you very much for listening to our reviews. Stay tuned for Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan coming up sometime. We do have to review the final of this year's G1 climax, so keep an eye out for that. That's been absolutely stellar this summer, and then we'll have some more gaming related stuff in the near future. So.
Rest in peace, Harley Race.
Oh, yeah. Harley. Dear Harley. Absolutely. There's never been more of a man than Harley Race. I mean, who can, don't fuck with that guy. Harley Race, rest in peace. And we'll catch you guys next time on this podcast.